right. Welcome, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever it is you may be in the world and whatever time of the day it might be. How you doing? Welcome back to the Final Word here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network with your boy MattyB on the call. Wednesday night, April 16th, 2025, the final word before my vacation. Yeah, that's right. This is the last time we will come together, assemble together here on the Final Word until April 27th. I want you guys to remember that. So no more, not tomorrow night, not next Sunday, not Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, but that following Sunday, I'll be back. So we got a lot to cover tonight because I don't want to leave any loose ends undone before I head on out. And tomorrow I'll be back on the air. I got the Fighting's final, but this is the final word, and we got a lot of stuff that we have not resolved, and I need to resolve it tonight. We're going to be talking a litany of things, so you're going to have to really kind of keep up. It's going to go fast and furious at times, maybe. Well, of course, we'll see what the conversation dictates. But tonight we got Phillies talk. Yeah, 11-4, and not the Phillies winning, by the way. 11-4 Phillies losers tonight. Same old story, no offense, bad pitching. Phillies pitching staff surrendered 9 walks tonight. Aaron Nola has not gotten off to a good start. 0-4 now. Well, I don't know if he's 0-4, but he's pitched 4 very, very bad outings to start the season. Bryce Harper hit the home run. Phillies once again failing to capitalize with runners in scoring positions. They were 1 for 9 tonight with RISP. And on the season now, the Phillies have fallen to a putrid. And I say putrid, I mean putrid, man. 198 batting average with runners in scoring position. A healthy 31 for 156 with runners in scoring position. You're not winning many World Series when you're batting like that with people on the bases, especially those that are in scoring position. Phillies pitching on a positive note tonight for the second straight game this season. Or this second straight game, not the season, but second straight game did not allow a home run. So that's something to hang your hat on. And Nola pitched tonight, so that's something a lot to hang your hat on. But the 9 walks, the failure to offensively move people around, Bohm batting 6, Marsh back in the lineup again. What happened to the 3 days off? Maybe that was a fantasy. Maybe Rob Thompson feels that he's asleep most of the time. We talked about it last night. Rob's inner voice that we all have, that inner monologue that we use to speak to ourselves in our brain. Maybe Rob doesn't know when he's doing that and actually talking, because he kind of seems foolish at this point in time, because now Brandon Marsh, to couple Brandon Marsh's offensive struggles, now he's forgotten how to play the outfield. And that's just a recipe for disaster. Rojas tonight, well, did he commit an error? Was that tonight, the Rojas error? Or was that last night? I don't even remember what night it was. But I know the Marsh committed it, or Marsh overran a ball at one point. Was the Rojas error tonight? That was the error, right? Where he overthrew everybody? And then, yeah, because it was a dead ball and they all had to move up. So center field continues to be a mess for the Philadelphia Phillies. Third base, maybe Bohm's pulling himself out of it. I don't know. I mean, he did have a hit tonight, right? Alec Bohm get a hit? Did Alec Bohm get a hit tonight, folks? Let's take a look. Alec Bohm is was 1 for 4. Yeah, he did get a hit. Wasn't it a double? As averages up to 167. So maybe he's pulling himself out of it. Marsh is now batting lower than 100. He's like Kyle Schwarber territory now, 095 from back in the day. So Phillies are a mess, and we're going to continue the conversation that was laid down so adequately by Mike Laro on the Fighting's final. We're also going to pivot to hockey. Mercifully, tomorrow the Flyers season comes to an end out in Buffalo. And but we're going to speak some positive things about the Flyers as we look forward to the offseason. And more personnel news today in regards to the Lehigh Valley Phantoms and Flyers prospects as they continue to start showing up at the front door, which is a positive thing. And we're going to discuss some of that. And I am going to finish my MattyB's all-time MLB jersey tour through the NL East tonight. We're going to wrap it up, and I'm going to reveal my NL East jerseys, yes, to include my all-time favorite Phillies jerseys. And we're going to finish everything tonight, hopefully, if the sun doesn't come up yet, with some draft talk. Yeah, I mean, I have not really spoken much about the draft on this program because of obvious, I like to let sleeping dogs lie, but I'm not going to be around next week for the draft. I'm going to be in Florida, so I got to give you my draft. I'm going to give you what MattyB would draft if he was the GM of the Eagles instead of that fraud Howie Roseman. So I will give you who I think the Eagles should draft next Thursday night. And then, of course, the of the night segment. this day in Philadelphia sports history and the card review. All of that's going to get crammed into about 25 minutes. Now, we're going to try to get through it as fast as we can, but you guys are blowing me the hell up over here. Let me get some of these out of the way. Barbara says Nola is out of excuses. So is this entire team at this point. Nola, Thompson, Harper, Schwarber, Dombrowski, Middleton, they're all out of excuses. And is there something, though, Barbara, as we sit here scuttling in April? And by the way, for those of you keeping track at home, which of course I am, the Phillies are now 9-7 in the month of April, I believe, right? No, 7-7 in the month of April. So MattyB's, I don't want to sound like a hypocrite to everybody out there, because I'm a big proponent of the fact that all you got to do to make a successful April is get through the month 500 or better and healthy. So I know, but this is, we talked about it last night on our championship thing. This is what we do here, man. This is what keeps us warm during these cold spring nights. We criticize and we're critical, and we have our eye on a bigger prize, but we're not looking at April per se, right? We're looking at October. Is that healthy? Depending on who you are. I'm not going to judge you if your eye is focused on October, because ultimately everybody's focused on October. But if you're focused on October and April, so be it. And right now, you got to be really concerned with what you're seeing. Now, if you're focused solely on April, you can chalk it up to April. You can chalk it up to the 40-degree temperatures. You can chalk it up to all the nuances that come with the start of a new baseball season. And you might be right. You can't win a World Series in April, but you can lose one. So I still have my eye on that 500 or better and healthy coming out of this month. Now, if they do lose, 2 more games, they will eclipse their entire loss total in April last year. They had only 9 losses throughout April in 2024. So they're on verge of breaking that streak. But again, it's all about, I think, being 500 or better and healthy. So we're definitely going to get into the conversation, but you're right. Everybody is out of excuses. Star Wars says the Phillies suck. I'm not going to fight you there, man. Not going to fight you there. Joe, what's going on? What's up? The whole team sucks. Good God. I guess everyone here is focused on October. Oh, wow. Adam saying the whole team sucks. Joe Hale says terrible loss. Yeah, listen, it was a terrible loss. But it was one of those, when it was 7, no, actually, I'm going to lie. I'm not lying to you. When it was 5-4, when they scored, they got those 2 runs to make it 6-4, and what was that, the 6th inning? The game was over. I was already updating trackers and databases to annotate this game as a loss. I knew the Phillies weren't going to come back because they're just not that type of team right now. And I don't know if they are that type of team, right? There is a problem. And unfortunately, mixing and matching lineups, because once again, the Phillies went with a different lineup tonight. So that still remains. The Phillies have only used the same lineup in 3 straight games. That's it. April 3rd, 4th, and 5th. The only times this season the Phillies have used the same lineup. And I mentioned this on the Twitter thing today. Is part of this problem, is part of the problem with this batting order, is the same issues that we've been having with the bullpen for years. No roles. Now we don't have any roles for the lineup. Is there something to that? Is there something to these players not being able to get comfortable? I mean, he kept Nick Castellanos pretty much batting in the same spot literally the entire season last year, trying to break his way out of a slump. Is there something to that? And we constantly are mixing and matching and changing the lineup. I guess he's trying everything he can to break things through. But you're trying to grab blood from a stone at this point, because I don't know if these hitters at this particular junction in time can give you anything more than they're giving you. It's not like this is new, and that's another thing. And I think most Philly, and this is what's pissing a lot of Phillies fans off too. This is not like, oh my God, what's going on? Why are they being like this? Why are they playing like this? No, this is something that's been ongoing consistently since mid-June of last year. And that's why typically you would be like, you're 17 games, 18 games into a season. Why are you freaking out? It's not 18 games, though. It's literally like a half a season plus 18 games. So all the concerns are legit, and trust me, I'm right along with you guys. You guys have listened to me long enough to know that I'm not going to say you're wrong. I'm definitely up with you. What is your opinion on what Harper did calling out Marchand on the mound to talk to him and Hernandez? I've never seen a position player do that ever before. I have seen position players do that. They usually now this is what I have witnessed before when they're trying to get a pitcher to warm up and they don't want to waste a mound visit. They'll send a position player over to the mound to stall for time. That wasn't what this was. Again, Harper could have seen something, or Harper could have noticed that maybe Hernandez was pitching too fast and he was trying to slow him down. Marchand's a young catcher. I mean, he hasn't been in the major leagues, but this is like his first legit look at the major league level in his entire career. It could have been an opportunity just to slow things down. I wouldn't honestly. I don't look at it as any sort of toe stepping on anything like that. I thought somebody on this team saw something, somebody on this team noticed something, and somebody stepped up to take advantage of try to kind of slow it down. And he pitched better after that little conference too. So I don't have negative connotations about that at all, Michael. I thought it was a smart move from a veteran player. Nola strikes again. It was bad. Nola did strike again tonight, and Nola's been bad all season. I mean, really, he has. He didn't give up any homers tonight, and that's positive. But other than that, boy, that first inning was terrible. Absolutely terrible, and it set the tone for the entire game. And I give the Phillies a lot of kudos for coming back from 4-0. Because honestly, I thought the game was over then. But they fought their way back. But Nola definitely did not give the Phillies anything to work with tonight. Now, typically the Phillies don't give Nola anything to work with. So tonight, I guess Nola repaid him. But boy, it was a terrible first inning. Absolutely garbage. Garbage. Nola is 0-4. Yep. So he is 0-4. I know he started 4 games and he's pitched terribly in all 4 of them. I didn't know he suffered L's in all 4 of them. Marsh is batting 0.95. Yeah, he's down near Kyle Schwarber 2023 range, batting under 100. Also, Robbie's sitting stop for Sosa, and Bohm still playing third, and Schwarber in left field. I just went over that, Mike. They've only ran the same lineup out there 3 straight games, and that's it. I don't know why Bohm is still playing. I don't. Are we going down the same Castellanos road? Obviously, and then to make matters worse, he's putting Bohm up in the 6th hole again. I don't get that. I know he's trying to work him out of a slump, but it's obviously not working. And there's options available for this team. It's a matter of when they want to take those options. Sosa is an option for the near term. Sosa can, I've maintained when Sosa was hitting, when he was swinging that hot stick, you got to keep Sosa in the lineup until he stops swinging that hot stick. And they did, and they pulled him right out and started moving things around again. I don't understand that either. And especially right now, Bohm has not earned, in my opinion, any more playing time. And I don't know how he earns it back. Does he earn it back through the batting cage? Does he earn it back through certain things that they want to see him do during hitting practice? Because right now, to me, he has lost all playing time. And to be bluntly honest, he deserves to be sent down. He does, because I need somebody up here who can swing a bat. All right. I need somebody up here that can try to swing a bat and that has a sort of a fresh palate to do that. And right now, Alec Bohm is not the guy. How am I doing, man? Go Phillies. Thank you, Ricky. How are you doing? So listen, let me pause for the cause here. Let's rock out our day in Philadelphia sports, because as I said, we got a bunch to get into. On this day back in 1988, after finishing in first place in the Patrick Division, you guys know what I'm talking about? Patrick Division. Come on, real quick. Give me what I'm talking about. Anyway, Flyers. After finishing first place in the Patrick Division, the previous 3 seasons, the Flyers had done that. The Flyers had a pretty uncharacteristic late 1988 season. They stumbled into the playoffs. They were 38, 33-9 on the season, finishing in 3rd place in the Patrick Division. They were facing the Capitals in the first round of the Wales Conference quarterfinals. On this day, the Flyers lost the pivotal Game 7, ending the series, losing the series 4-3. Now, I'm going to kind of just sort of set it up for you. So the Flyers, coming out of 86-87, went to the Cup. Hextall's rookie year, he wins the Vezina, wins the Conn Smythe, all that. Flyers thought they had solved their goalie problem. come out in 87, 88, and had a really kind of up and down year all season long. Maybe Hextall kind of hit a sophomore slump. I don't know, but they found their way into the playoffs. Then they got up on the Capitals 3-0, and then they fell back 3-3. And you know, everyone's talks about the was it 3-0 they were down? I'm sorry, they were up 3-1. It wasn't. I was because I know they were at 3-9 because the Flyers were the last team and like the only second team ever to do that. They were up 3-1 in the series, and they allowed Washington to get back in it. And then in Game 7, up 3-0 in the game, they allowed Washington to score the next 4 games, and then, next 3 goals to tie it, and then score the game winner in overtime, ending the Flyers' 87-88 season. They would come back the following year in 88-89, and they would make another run into the Wales Conference Finals against the Canadiens, and that was the Chris Chelios, Brian Propp, cheap shot, like in Game 1, and then Hextall going after Chelios in Game 6 when the series was pretty much over with, and then Hextall getting suspended for like the first 8 games of the following season, and the Flyers not making the playoffs for the next 5 years after that, which, of course, we all know all too well what that feels like. So on the heels of the Flyers' final game of the year, on this night back in 1988, they were eliminated from the 88 Wales Conference quarterfinals in Game 7 in a 4-3 overtime loss to the Capitals. And that, folks, was your day in Philadelphia sports history. Brought to you by some of the fine programming here at the It's a Rep Sports Network, like P&M in the AM, returning to the airwaves on May 4th. Pat Bernard, Mike Laro, and Al Safiri producing. Sundays will not ever be the same. So make sure you're coming back here for the return to the airwaves and the debut on the It's a Rap Sports Network of P&M in the AM. So there you have it. Just had to get that out of the way. Knock out the great stuff that we're doing here. So let's get back into some of these comments. While waiting for you to come on, I came on with Mike, and he said, well, you usually come on when Matty is on. LOL, jealous. I don't know. You made me laugh. Let him be jealous, Barbara. I mean, why would you not come on for me? I mean, this is the best. Mike comes on the air like once every 7 months. I mean, what's he expect? Now, Mike's getting back into it, and it's all fun. We all know that. But I didn't catch the show tonight. Again, I was running around the last minute, so I didn't really catch the show. I caught the end of it. Social should have been playing third. Fire Robbie. Somebody else needs to be playing third, right? Can Cody Clemens play third? I know I saw him out there playing center field tonight. Cody got into the game tonight. I honestly thought he was going to be pitching tonight. I thought Cody Clemens was going to make his 2025 pitching debut in that blowout. I thought they were going to put him in there, try to save some of those arms in that bullpen. But yeah, no, I agree. Something needs to happen, man. Yes. Bring up Crawford and Painter. Now, not just Adam. Last night, I revealed my drastic, radical save the season plan for the Phillies. Not only do I want Crawford, Painter. Listen, I can live with the Phillies starting pitching right now. I can live with it. It ain't doing the best, but it's serviceable. Crawford, Racones Jr., Otto Kemp right now, today. Shake this whole thing up, man. Shake this whole damn thing up. Justin Crawford, please come up. Every day, Joe, that something stupid happens in center field, because now what a lot of people were kind of hanging their hat on with both Marsh and Rojas was, okay, they're struggling offensively, but they both play well defensively. Brandon Marsh looks lost on a baseball field right now, no matter where he's at. Left field, center field, at the plate, he looks lost. Rojas has been making bonehead plays all season. Remember the dropped fly ball? Was that last week where it fell right in front of him? Tonight he overthrew the cutoff guy and sails the ball into dead ball territory. So if they're not producing offensively, and we made excuses for that because of their glove, and now they're not playing well defensively, what other options are there, right, Joe? And that other option is a man by the name of Justin Crawford. And that other option is playing in Allentown. So at what point have we seen enough to say we've seen enough? Now, there could be some issues with Justin Crawford, and not issues, but the Phillies could be trying to milk him a little bit so that they don't get dinged up for a year of service time on him if they bring him up right now, because if they did that, he would meet the 71 days or 75 or 72. There's a day requirement that you're on the active roster that you get counted against your year of serviceability. So they might be waiting to get underneath that threshold and then bring Crawford up so they could save a year of eligibility. But I don't know how much longer, how many more nights of this, how many more series non-wins can we go through before you have to start shaking some damn things up, man. And Crawford is the legitimate next man up situation here for the Phillies. And I don't want to see Weston Wilson come up to replace somebody. All right, Weston Wilson is another bench piece. He's not going to move a needle on this team. He's not the future of this team. But if you brought a Gabriel Racones Jr., an Otto Kemp, and a Justin Crawford all up at the same time and started sending people down, DFAing people, it was sending a message throughout the entire organization. It was sending a message throughout the entire team. It was sending a message throughout the entire city that we're not satisfied with the product that's currently on the field and that nobody's job is safe. And literally, that would definitely mean that. Now, Mick Abel, you can also throw that name into the mix too. I forgot about Abel. I want to see him here. Not because he's earned it. Absolutely not. But because I want to see for once and for all, after 6 years in the minor leagues, that he can pitch in the majors. Because if he can't, I don't need him toiling around in Lehigh Valley anymore. He needs to go away. At what point have we reached that? And I just went on a 25-minute rant about how April is it's important, but it's not the end of the world. But are we at that point now? Because it's not 18 games. It's a half a season plus 18 games. It would be one thing if the Phillies came out of, I don't know, made the NLCS last year and lost to a very talented Dodger team. You could maybe kind of excuse that away a little bit. But the way the season ended in 2024, and I mean from June on, and to see basically the same product, literally the same players in the same end result, 18 games into this season, it's not working. So the whole, you got to give it more time. You got to give April, it's April. You got to let the season progress. I'm having a hard time validating that line of thinking because it's not necessarily just April. It's a whole 4.5 months prior to that. So at what point is enough? And we got to make changes to save the friggin' season. And that's a question with every loss and every embarrassment that we get closer and closer to hopefully answering. I know you are, Ricky. I'm glad you're watching. Rojas got a hit. Who cares? He also made an error that cost them a run. All right. Bohm got a hit. Let's all throw a parade on Broad Street. It might be the only parade we get. I told you I'm working on that. Good. I need some good news on the Flyers. They were so disappointing. Yeah, it might not be. I guess it's kind of good news, Barbara. We're going to talk about some faces that we've spoken about on this program in our Flyers prospect segments that are finally going to be Flyers, or at least at the very bare minimum, Phantoms heading into the AHL playoffs. Is there NFL coverage on It's a Wrap Sports? There is NFL coverage on It's a Wrap Sports, Joe. We have currently 2 programs on this network that cater to the Eagle fan. We have the Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn. Kyle Quinn is a producer of the Midday Show for 94 WIP. He's also my co-host on the quintessential Eagle pregame show that you can see every Thursday prior to Eagles games. We also have the Birds Flyby, which is our Eagles postgame show. Now, as far as the draft coverage next week, we've had multiple meetings about this, and we've had multiple discussions on the topic. We will not be doing any live draft coverage this year, but we will be doing social media coverage. We're posting a lot of things. We are going to cover it that way for the draft. But as far as the Eagles go, we do have Eagle stuff. We have 2 shows right now that are dedicated to the Eagles. I co-host a pregame show with Kyle Quinn every Thursday during the season, Thursday, Friday-ish time frame, and we do an Eagles postgame at the end of every Eagles after every Eagles game. The Birds Blast actually will return on May 1st. We'll do a check-in show talking about the draft, talking about free agency, and Kyle and me and Kyle will kick everything off at the end of August for our season. So We do cover the NFL here on It's a Wrap. But right now we're in baseball season, so we're covering baseball. But yeah, we are going to do coverage on the NFL draft, but we're not streaming anything. There's going to be a lot of social media coverage going on. So be on the lookout through our Facebook and our Twitter as well. Got to enjoy the season. It's long. Absolutely. Dave, this past off season was a flat out. Dave's this past off season was a flat out failure. We talked about it. There were issues. There were concerns that they were not doing anything. And there was concerns about, are they really going to run it back? Are we really going to endure another summer of Brandon Marsh and Johan Rojas platooning in center field? Why is Alec Bohm still here? Those were two main reasons, and then the bullpen with Trevor Hoffman and Estevez not keeping any of those. Okay, who we bringing in to replace them? The three main critical areas of this team that, again, were not secrets. This is nothing that just popped up. We knew these were problems, and obviously the plan, for whatever the reason was, and Al says maybe the plan was the minor leagues all along. Maybe the plan was Justin Crawford for center field. Maybe the plan was, I don't know who the hell would have come out the bullpen, but was Otto Kemp at third base. Maybe that was the plan overall, and we just had to wait longer to get there. Or maybe they didn't have the money. Maybe Middleton didn't want to bust the luxury tax again. Maybe he didn't want to lose any more draft picks or international signing money. Maybe the wallet just ran out and he just didn't want to do it anymore. But you're right. Right now, whatever this plan, the route they went, doesn't seem to have worked, because that route was nothing, was the same, was running it back. I'm looking for a good product right now, and the Phillies are not a good product right now. Will not, absolutely not argue that point, Mike. It is to the point with me. Again, I was watching tonight in the top of the first inning. They're down 4-0. I'm chalking it up as a loss. They battled back, piqued my interest. Then they went down 6-4. I chalked it up as a loss, and I was right. Because it's a lot to ask them to come back from a 4-0 deficit early in the game. It's damn near impossible for them to come back from a 2-run deficit from the sixth inning on. Team doesn't hit after the sixth inning, right? I mean, we've already kind of seen that all season. Again, 1 for 9 tonight with runners in scoring position. 198 on the season, or the batting average, with runners in scoring position. I don't remember it being this bad last April or the April before that. I know we were hovering around the 210s, 215s ranges at certain points, but I don't remember dipping below 200. They are now averaging as a team 3.7 runs a game. So they're averaging less than 4 runs a game. Now, the major league minimum for a good Major League Baseball team, for you to be considered a contender in Major League Baseball, you need to be averaging around 5 runs a game. Phillies are averaging 3.7 runs a game. Pathetic. With all that money, with all those contracts, with all those home runs, and the Phillies are averaging less than 4 runs per game. This team is in serious trouble. No center fielder, no third baseman. Second ace maybe is washed up. No closer. I think we have a closer. We just don't have any roles. That's the whole problem with the bullpen. I don't think we'll ever know what the hell's in the bullpen, because there's no roles there. And as far as the second ace being washed, what is it? I don't want to go to Al's excuse emporium tonight, but I mean, it's cold out, right? I mean, Nola seems to pitch better in the heat. I know this is not a viable thing for me to say for a guy that's getting paid, $15 million a year. You can only pitch when it's 80 degrees. I know that's ridiculous to say that, but I don't remember Nola getting off to this bad of a start ever before. 0-4, and he's pitched every bit 0-4 throughout that whole time. The one positive tonight was no home runs, but he had a bunch of walks. So is there concern with Nola? There is, because I've never seen him get off to this type of start. Yeah, he struggled out the blocks every now and again, but he has not pitched well at all. His velocity is down. There's been some discussion. Maybe he was injured, or maybe he is injured, or maybe his velocity is dipping because he's getting too old. I mean, we're going to have to wait and see how this thing plays itself out, but the second ace being washed, now that's the one thing that we can't afford right now. Nola needs to pull himself out of this, because if we have a problem at the third spot in the rotation, who in the hell is coming in to fill that up in April? There's nobody. So that's a real concern. I agree with Michael Thompson needs to be fired right now. Yeah. I wouldn't be upset about that. If they told me right now Rob Thompson was gone, I would be 100%. But I asked this question last night on the program, gentlemen. Remember? Who is the replacement? Who do you feel comfortable internally to come in here and fix this? Caleb what is it? Caleb Gotham, whatever his name is. Dusty Watham, Kevin Long. Is that who we're talking about? That's going to come in and fix this? I think Mike threw out the bench coach's name last night. I mean, who do we feel comfortable internally turning this thing around? I already told you who I want, but I don't know if they can bring MattyB in. I'm not saying that should be the reason not to fire him, but I'm just concerned about what the other option would be, because the other option are Rob Thompson guys, right? They've been with him and they've been with Girardi the whole time. Is the binder just going to get passed down the dugout? Sell. Anyone but Harper on this 40-man, not safe. Anyone but Harper? Man, I'd like Harper going a heartbeat, man. Hey, Mike, what's going? Good job tonight, Mike. As I heard, Mike, I did not see the show. I saw the end. Otto Kemp, please. Yeah, what was it last night for Kemp? He had 4 hits, 5 RBIs, and a homer. Granted, AAA, I understand. But why not? Can he do any worse than what Alec Bohm is doing right now? Could he do any worse than that? And that's the same question I have for Justin Crawford. Could Justin Crawford be doing any friggin' absolute worse than Johan Rojas and Brandon Marsh? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Stott's been hitting better than Bohm. Everyone's been hitting better than Bohm, with the exception of Marsh. NHL. What about NHL? Is there NHL draft coverage next Thursday on It's a Wrap? Is there NFL draft? No, I just said, Joe, we are not covering it live. NFL, right? We are not covering the draft live on the network. We are going to be covering it via social media. Al and Steve, and I think Mike Lauro, I think you're doing this too. They're going to be in a central location, throwing up graphics, covering stuff on our Twitter and our Facebook. We had hours of discussion about whether or not we were going to do a live draft show, and because of the premature nature of the network, well, I mean, we're only 6 months old, and building a lot of this stuff in flight as we've gone, we decided to pause X and pause X means not to stop, to not do I was considering doing a live show, but I'm not going to be around, and we're talking 3 hours, and this is not the sexiest draft for the Eagles in the first round, and I wasn't going to do a whole 7 rounds, and I would like to do a whole 7 rounds at some point, but we just don't have the manpower right now, and we don't have the systems in place at this time to do a legitimate draft coverage in 2025. But we will build upon that in 2026 and probably do something in 2026. But this year we will not do anything live. No. Now for the MLB draft and the NHL draft, which are my babies, still kind of determining what I want to do for that. The NHL draft for this year could be very exciting for the Flyers. Potentially 3 picks in the first round, 7 picks in the first 2 rounds. I mean, there could be something to really get excited about. But I'm in discussions with myself right now about what we're going to do about that. But for the NFL draft this year, we will not be doing any live streaming. We will do social media stuff. So am I, Ricky. I thought 1994 was going to be the darkest days of Flyers. Now the fiasco is happening. Makes you miss those days, right, Barbara? Makes you miss those days because of the Lindros thing, and there ain't no Eric Lindros coming. Oof. We need to have a Phillies meeting on live. Robbie, as I have said before, is giving the big FU to the fans by still playing Bowman Marsh. He is, but I know what it's like to be a leader. You don't want to give up on your guys, and I know he feels that there's still time to pull them out of this, and there is still time, and that's the messed up part about all this. And it goes back to what we've talked about as the culture of Philadelphia sports fans. We are not the most patient group, right? We've been seeing this. Rob's not looking at this the way we are. Rob's looking at this as the first 18 games of the season. We're looking at this as an extension of last year, right? Rob's not looking at that. He's not focused on 2024 anymore. He's focused on the here and the now, and he's focused on getting Marsh and Bohm right now. And he's looking at April as being, you know what? Hey, it's the first month of the season. We're not going to go 7-35 through the first month. We're not. We're going to be right where we need to be. So he's not that it's program losses, but if you're going to tinker, tweak with anything within your team, April's the month to do it, especially if he feels if his team is designed to go on that run. Now, we don't see that at all, right? We see an extension of what happened last year bleeding over into this year. And so we've all seen enough. We've all seen enough to know we've seen too much. But I agree with you. But I don't know if it's an FU to the fan base or more of him trying to find a way to unlock whatever is wrong with Marsh and Bohm. But if he does that, then he would have solved a mystery that's been spanning for years with Marsh, and then obviously coming up on one calendar year with Bohm. So he would be the Svengali of baseball managers, which I don't think Rob Thompson is. So you're right, Mike. There's multiple ways to look at this. They do need to play better. Marsh and Rojas are the worse than Herrera and Centerfield. Yeah, and it's two of them. That's what sucks, Adam. It's two of them. It's not like we can go and say, okay, sit down, Brandon. Johan, go in there. No, man, because he sucks too. Johan Rojas is maybe the worst hitter in all of Major League Baseball. Okay, and again, now his defense is suffering. It's you're putting yourself in an impossible position as the Phillies, an absolute impossible position. And Herrera could hit, absolutely could hit. Well, no, he could also hit the baseball at times, and then the other thing too. Joe Ross is a starting pitcher. I'm not sure why we signed him to be. Barbara, are you really jumping down that box with me? Are you going to open up that Pandora's box with me? We know why, because there's no roles in his bullpen. You're right. He's a spot starter and a long reliever. He's not pitching in the seventh inning. Now, tonight, all bets are off. We're down 7-4, 8-4. You know, you're sitting here trying to kind of add up the odds in the dugout saying, you know, do I throw Strom out there? Do I throw Alvarado? Do I throw Kirkering? Do I throw Romano? Or do I save them for more winnable type situations? And again, it's a strategy thing in baseball. But tonight was only one example because Ross has been out there before or since then in those high leverage situations in the seventh and eighth inning. You're absolutely right. But again, Barbara, it goes down to the point that we have a bullpen with no roles. And it's annoying. And now we have a team, an offensive lineup, who meets that same criteria with no roles because we constantly are switching up the lineup. So there's absolutely, it's like being on the Titanic, Barbara, and I'm going to use this analogy and follow me along with this, or follow along with me. It's like being on the Titanic and running up to the bridge just to find out that Daffy Duck is the captain. That's exactly what this feels like to me. Because no matter what we're doing and all the tinkering, at the end of the day, the man in charge seems to be as loony as everybody else. And that's what's really concerning. Seth Johnson can pitch out of the bullpen. Yeah, he could. Moises Chase could too. Moises double A. Seth Johnson could do it. I'm telling you, Mick Abel could do it. Mick Abel could do no worse than what friggin' Ruiz and Ross are doing right now. Mick Abel throws hard, and he's a strikeout machine. He's also a hit machine and a run machine, but he's a strikeout machine. I can live with Mick Abel for 6 batters a game. Maybe he comes in and settles down a situation. Something needs to happen soon. I hate the argument Nola can't pitch in the cold, but the cold is keeping the ball in the ballpark. He will get clobbered once it's warmer. He's getting clobbered now. He's given up 4 home runs already in 4 starts, averaging 1 home run a start. All right? He's averaging on a season over 30 home runs throughout a course of a season. The ball's leaving the park on him right now. I shudder to think what's going to happen in June or July. Well, the Phillies are a game and a half ahead of the Marlins right now, which could change tomorrow if the Phillies lose, and then the Phillies play the Marlins for 3 games. Yeah, I mean they do, but I'm not looking at. I honestly don't even stare or look at standings until the All-Star break. I honestly don't, because for me right now, and I'm giving you a dose of reality of how I look at it as a fan and how I've always looked at baseball. And I'm not saying I'm right and you're wrong. I'm just telling you that. Am I fired up about the Phillies? Yeah. Am I fired up? Am I confused? Am I frustrated? Am I angry? Do I feel used? Yes, absolutely. Just like you do. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you're wrong because you know me better than that. But it is April, and we're 7-7 in the month of April. We're not 0-7. We're not 0-14, 1-13. We're 7-7. It ain't looking good. And I don't know where it's going to end up, because it's trending the other way, and I get you there. But I just, and I've been down this road before. We were down this road in 2022. How lifeless did that team look heading into June in 2022? And then a change of manager unleashed them to what they ended up doing, which was a decent surge in this, that quarter mark of the season all the way to the end. And again, I'm not saying that this is the same magic that's going to happen now, but is it concerning? Yeah, but I could care less if anyone's passing us up in the standings right now. If we're still within 3 or 4 games and all that, it really doesn't matter to me. Holistically, yeah, I'm more upset that we didn't make any moves and now we're paying for it. We've wasted an entire offseason. I wait very impatiently for the return of baseball every year. And luckily, it's one of the sports out there that have a very quick turnaround, right? I mean, the season ends in late October, sometimes early November. Then we got like literally 24 hours after that is start of free agency. And then boom, we're all off and running to the winter meetings. And then boom, it's January. We take a little bit of a pause there. And then by early February, you start hearing the crack of the bat and the slapping of leather in the glove. And then by mid-February, it's pitchers and catchers, and we're right back there again. But still, it's still a gap. And there's still a lot of downtime. I'm frustrated that they didn't use that time at all. And now we entered a season where we could have fixed things, and then we didn't. And now we're staring at an entire season of yet another frustrating start and all that. What about promoting a AAA manager if Robbie is fired for intern manager? Yeah, you could do that, I guess. They got some guys down there. Contreras is the manager of the Iron Pigs, and Brodowski, whatever his name is, he's managing down in Reading. Yeah, I mean, there may be some options there. Yeah, I mean, you could look internally that way too. I didn't even think of that, Michael. You're absolutely correct. I didn't look at that. But yeah, you could do that. And maybe that's a voice that they need, someone from the outside that's not tainted. Someone that's going to go walk into a dugout and say, Harper, you're batting third. Schwarber, you're batting fourth until further notice. And then walk away. And so Turner, you're leading off until further notice. And then walk away. Maybe. There's an unconfirmed reports that Thompson fell asleep. I heard about that. I heard that. How could you fall asleep in this weather down there? But I did hear that, Barbara. Should we get Anthony Rizzo? We should get anybody that we is he available? Is Anthony Rizzo available? Is he sitting out there as a free agent? Where is Anthony Rizzo? Why do I not know where Anthony Rizzo is right now? Why not? Should have got Pete Alonso too. Should have went after a lot of different people. But all right, now that I got to pause in some of the comments, let's transition to the Flyers real quick. We beat up the Phillies a little bit. Let's transition to the Flyers. Flyers are mercifully ending their season tomorrow night. As it stands right now, they're looking at the worst, I think their top 6 or bottom 6 worst record in the NHL. There's 3 teams that are ahead of them or below them, whatever way you want to look at it. And then there's I think it's the Bruins, the Flyers, and I want to say maybe the Penguins that are all sitting at the same point total right now that could potentially finish up with the same point total if the Flyers end up beating Buffalo, which they should not, because we're only 1 point behind Buffalo for the worst record in the league for being worse. So if it ends up hopefully the way we all want it to end up, they're looking at a potential top 5 pick in this year's draft. And we've been covering the draft extensively here on this network. We do it every year. I do it every year. We've identified some players that could be in play, especially at 5 for the Flyers. Now, is there, in my opinion, day one starters at 5 for the Flyers? No, not in this draft. They'll be gone by pick 4, in my opinion. But there's some impact players the Flyers could definitely wrap their hands around at 5. And maybe, who knows, maybe they find their way up into 1 or 2, and that would be amazing. Maybe that's what we need to get this thing going. But in the interim time, as we languish through yet another offseason, another shattered season, another low expectation season, another what are we doing on the ice season, there are some prospects that were taken a few years ago that are starting to make their way into the pro game. Jetlachenko, of course, we talked about him coming down from the Guelph Storm, joining the Lehigh Valley Phantoms. Well, he's not alone, because over the course of the last week, the Flyer organization have added the following prospected players. Carson Bjornsson, who is a God help you goalie. That's right. Next, when it comes to the goalie situation, he just finished his 4th year with the brand new Wheat Kings of the Western Hockey League. Bjornsson was taken in the 2nd round of the 2023 draft. He was at the time, the mind-boggling, why are we taking a 2nd round draft pick and then turn around and take a 3rd round draft pick on Igor Zaradin, who's another goalie, when we still had Carter Hart. Now, of course, this was back before the situation with Carter Hart became public, and I think the Flyers had an inkling this was happening. That's why they went back-to-back draft picks with goalies. But Bjornsson has potentially, well, he is the next man up. Now, am I saying he's going to be wearing orange and black next year? No, he'll be probably starting in Lehigh next season, but he is the next goalie to get a shot at supplanting whoever then the starter would be, because I really feel the Flyers need to go out and sign a veteran starter, at least for the next 2 years, until Bjornsson's ready, and Zaradin as well, because Zaradin should be around not this year, but next year. Should be showing up at some point. So the next wave of goalies that are trying out have arrived, and Carson Bjornsson is that goalie. We've talked about him. His legs are his biggest weapon. He's a lanky kid, 6'4", 207 pounds. That's a lot better than the 6'8" hulking behemoth Fedotov, who can't keep his 5-hole closed and also cannot move laterally to save his life. Bjornsson can. And he uses his legs and his slinky frame to his advantage. He's quick inside the crease, and he's big inside that crease. He had about 2.53 goals against average this year for Brandon, his 4th year of major junior hockey. That's going to be it for him. He will now don either the orange and black of the Flyers or the black, purple, orange, and white of the Phantoms. I expect to see him probably as the Phantom starting goalie next year, or the backup. Joining Mr. Bjornsson in Lehigh Valley is Flyers' 5th round pick in 2022, left winger Alex Bump, 6 foot, 194 pound sniper for the Western Michigan of the national team, NCAA. Without any tail, he fluidly dekes through defenders along the perimeter to gain the zone. A textbook curl and drag. Wrister beats the defender and changes the angle in one motion. He's also a skilled 2-touch and catch and release shooter. Comp, let's take a look at comp. Maybe a TJ Oshie with a little bit smaller version of a TJ Oshie comp, I would say, with Alex Bump. He's an average to above average skater, but where he makes up with his speed is his agility on the skates. So he is now beginning his pro career. Joining him, Alex Chernick, the forward from the Nybro Vikings of the HA, 5'10", 179 pound. Basically think of, and I think I said this a few weeks ago when we were talking about him, like a hybrid between Danny Briere and Martin St. Louis. Trust me, I'm not like giving him the scoring ability of those two, but playing style and build. That is what Alex Chernick is. The one main issue with him and all these other European players, especially the ones from Sweden and Switzerland and Germany, are can they equate to the tighter ice of the NHL, and can they move through big obstacles that they're going to have to try to move through at the NHL? But he can skate, he can move, and he does have quick hands. I'm not in love with 5'10" or 179 pounds, but that's always fluid. He's still growing up. 4th round pick in 2023. And of course, we talked about Carson Dorwart. He's actually with the Flyers, an undrafted free agent the Flyers signed. Devin Kaplan from Boston University has also joined the Lehigh Valley Phantoms, a 3rd round pick out of 2022, a right winger, and we're short on right wingers at the Flyer level. He delays at the right moments, inviting pressure before passing, anticipates teammates moving into the space and hits them with the lead pass, looks to the inside and cross ice for options rather than forcing a low percentage shot or up the boards dump. Now, that's something that I think a lot of Flyers fans are kind of sick of, right? And I agree with what you're saying there. I do. I think we definitely want to see more pucks on the net. We want to see more rebounds in front. We're tired of the passing because that's been sort of the bugaboo with the Flyers over the last 3 seasons, as they don't really know when to shoot and they want to take that extra pass. But what Devin Kaplan to me is he's 6'3", 200 pounds, and something that we need to work. What is the best attribute or the best position to put a kid who predicates himself on passing, a forward who predicates himself on passing? Well, that would be the power play. And God knows we need playmakers on that power play. So Kaplan could eventually comp out to be a good 2nd line power play option for the Flyers. Maybe, and again, a Rod Brindamore, Peter Zezel, Rick Tocchet type player. A little bit more broader. It's not going to blow you away with his skating ability, but he is going to blow you away with his hockey IQ. So again, if to kind of put it in sort of perspective, that's who I would comp him to. Ty Murchison also joining the Phantoms. The left-handed defenseman from Arizona State, the 2021 5th round pick, finished his 4th year of final eligibility with Arizona State this fall or spring and joined the Phantoms. He could be part of maybe we're looking for help defensively. I don't know how much he's really going to affect the Flyers anytime soon. He might just be a tweener, a fringe guy. But we need help. We need more bodies on the D-corps because we're looking for some people, man. We're desperate for some people. But he's joined the Phantoms as well. And along with, again, we talked about Jet Lachenko. So the Flyers and the future is at least coming to the Valley. And that's a good sign. And that's a very good step into rectifying this problem. But we need to do more. And as the season ends tomorrow, hopefully that starts the more process. So I just wanted to kind of touch on that real quick and update you guys on the Flyers and what's happening with them. What about a former player? Free agent. Oh, he is? Rizzo's still sitting out there, huh? Wonder why. Yeah, bring him in. Hell with it, man. Bring him in. Let's go Flyers. Yeah, let's do it. So Robbie fell asleep. This makes me, my night justifies all the I heard that. I did hear that. All right. Let's get into let's do the MattyB jersey segment. Let's finish that up for you guys. We've been doing this throughout the last week or so. I've been revealing my all-time favorite jersey combinations of all MLB teams throughout history. I've been taking my favorite road jersey and my favorite home jersey of that team, and we're just talking about it and have some fun. Tonight, we've made it to the end, the NL East. We've gone through all the divisions of both leagues, and we're finishing up with the NL East. I'm going to recap right now. I'm going to start in the AL West. These were my all-time favorite jerseys of every team in the AL West. Jerseys of note here is the road jersey of the Oakland A's and the home jersey of the Seattle Mariners, both from the early 80s, late 70s, both pullovers, and both, to me, very classic jerseys. On to the AL Central. I've said it many times, and I'll continue to say it. I'm a big fan of anything the Chicago White Sox do with their uniforms and the butterfly collar 19th century combination of the late 70s, early 80s Chicago White Sox home jerseys. You cannot beat that anywhere with a stick. That is the best jersey ever. And you combine that with the shorts and the socks all the way up to your knees, and nothing says 1970s better than that look. Down there below is the Chicago White Sox jersey from the early 90s, the road jersey. Again, I think it's a really cool design. The Twins jersey, the road jersey from the early 80s, another one of my favorites. And the Indians jerseys from the late 70s, early 80s, road jerseys, are also one of my favorites. So on to the AL East. And this is the humdrum division, the division of teams that never change their uniforms. The Yankees, who have had the same uniform since Moses was a private. The Red Sox, who have had essentially the same uniform. I know they changed their road jerseys around a little bit, and they updated the homes with an alternate jersey or whatever, but they still keep the same. The Blue Jays, who have changed things around, but I'm still a fan of their original ones, or the ones from the 80s. The Orioles home jersey is one of my favorite of all time from the 80s, and then I could care less about the Rays. These are the two less offensive uniforms that they've ever had, as far as I'm concerned, but they've come up with nothing but dreck after dreck through the history of their team when it comes to uniforms. So on to the NL West, and we have the Padres, man, the king of jerseys for me. The early 80s San Diego Padre home and road jerseys are the best in the world that's ever seen. Those browns and those whites, they're just, to me, say everything that I need to know about 80s baseball. The Giants road jerseys of the 80s as well, and their home jerseys. Dodgers never change. D-backs less offensive, and same thing with the Rockies. What is up with the expansion teams and just not knowing how to put together uniforms? NL Central, we did that last night. Just as much as I love those Padre uniforms, nothing trumps the Pirates road jerseys of the late 70s and early 80s. The black with the yellow pants, I don't know how you top that. You just can't. But those black pullover jerseys of the Pirates of the early 80s, they never should have gotten rid of them. Some other jerseys of note here, the Milwaukee Brewer road jerseys of the 80s, the Cubs are road jerseys of the early 80s, just some good looks as well. And that takes us to the vaunted National League East, the home of the fighting Philadelphia Phillies. Are you ready to see MattyB's all-time favorite MLB jerseys, NL East? And we're off. Where is it? There it is. All right, there it is. Here are my NL East all-time favorite jerseys. Let's start with the Phillies. Yes, I'm a slave to the 80s with the pinstripe, maroons pinstripes, with the old school P and the number on the front. Never should have got rid of them. I don't know why they did. They never should have gotten rid of them. And then the gray road versions of those from the late 80s are my two all-time Phillies jerseys of all time. I can't. I've never warmed up to these jerseys that they have. I just can't get into it. In 93 or 92, whenever they debuted them, I mean, they've gotten better. They've changed them a little bit over the years and made them less offensive to me, but nothing beats these two jerseys, in my opinion. Just reminds me of better days and classic days. The Mets, I'm a fan of the Mets when they had the borders, when they had the orange and the blue on the borders, on their sleeves and on their sides. That's the 80s, early 80s home jerseys and the early 80s road jerseys of the Mets. They just work for me better than any Mets jerseys and uniform combinations have ever had over history. My favorite national uniforms, of course, are the Montreal Expos home and road jerseys of the 80s, because I hate them. The Nationals have never done anything for me. The Marlins, again, this is a Generation 2 Marlin home jersey, and then their current road jerseys, again, less offensive. And we wrap up the National League East with the Braves from the early 80s. Their whites and then their powder blue road jerseys is my favorite. And that's it, man. You've made it through the entire Major League Baseball, and I have revealed to you all of my favorite jerseys of all time. I think we can come up with a common thread here. I love the uniforms from the 80s. I love pullovers, and I love powder blue on some teams, but not the Phillies. So there it is. There it is in a nutshell. I am a slave to the 80s uniforms because they just worked for me. I like the pullover version of jerseys, and I like powder blue, except with the Phillies. I hate those powder blues. I've always hated them. I despise them. Even when they wear them on Thursday home games, I can't stand it. I cannot stand those powder blues. If they're going to go back to a uniform, then go back to the maroon pinstripes as that alternate uniform on day games. but get rid of those powder blues. Now, there is a jersey of honorable mention that I do want to bring up here. It's not a real jersey. It was never actually put into official use, but I found this and I definitely want to talk about it. If we went to this as a road jersey, this would be the bomb for me. I would love this to be our road jerseys. That would work for me. And then I would stick the Liberty Bell patch right here on the side, and then your number on this side. That would be it, man. I love that. That works for me. That would be great if that again, this is not a real jersey, but I found this on the internet, and I would definitely sign up if the Phillies made these their road jerseys, because those things are hot. But there you go. There's MattyB's all-time jerseys. The trends are, I like pullovers, I like the 80s, and I like powder blue, except on the Phillies. Hopefully it's the of course it's the Expos. Of course, Joe, what are you talking about, man? I ain't no rookie. You picked a nice pair for the Phillies. I sort of miss the Expos. Expos have some of the greatest uniforms ever. I didn't like the Expos when they went to the pinstripes and they went gray. They belong in powder blue, and they belong in those original whites at home. I don't know, man. I don't know what it is about that era, but it just all makes sense to me. And so, all right, we've gotten through that segment. Boy, all right, we're going to talk some football now. That's right. MattyB is going to talk football. I haven't talked football in a while, not since we got through free agency, but it's time. It's time to address the Eagles. It's time to address the draft. It's time for me to give you what I think I would do if I was Howie Roseman. It's time for me to tell you who I would be drafting. Now, there's certain parameters on this draft. I've not traded any players. I'm not moving up. I'm not moving down. I'm taking every player at every pick that I have and just letting it roll. Of course, we're going to suspend reality a little bit, because I think there's at least a couple players on my board that are not going to be there where I want them, but tonight they are. So we're going to go with them anyway. I'm going to reveal my draft philosophy to you right now. In my opinion, and I ranked them 1, 2, and 3. The number one reason why the Eagles won the Super Bowl last year was the defense. Hands friggin' down. The number 2 reason why the Eagles won the Super Bowl last year was Saquon Barkley. And the number 3 reason why the Eagles won the Super Bowl last year was because Midnight Greens. I'm not putting Jalen Hurts on that list. Jalen Hurts did absolutely nothing. He was along for the ride with everybody else. So I'm not giving Jalen Hurts any credit about his contributions to winning the Super Bowl. It was the defense, and it was Saquon Barkley. And right now, as we head into this draft, the defense has been decimated with free agent moves, cuts, trades. We can get into the whole why he's doing it, positioning for the future, Jalen Carter. We can do all that if you want, but it's not going to wish away why the situation that we're in right now. The Eagles' defense has been decimated, and they've added some depth pieces. They've added some journeyman players to come in here and sort of hold down the fort. And then the righteous, delusional Eagles fans out there want you to believe that this is okay, that this is the right thing that a defending Super Bowl champion should be doing, is getting rid of, jettisoning all the high-priced players that got you to the Super Bowl and picking up a bunch of journeymen. So I think consensusly, we can agree that the defense is going to take a step backwards in 2025 if we were to start the season today. And that would be probably spell doom for the Eagles, because what that defense did from week 5 or 6, whenever they got back from the bye, all the way to the Super Bowl was nothing short of miraculous. The way they were a turnover forcing machine, the way they harassed, the way the emergence of Cooper DeJean, the emergence of Quinyon Mitchell, the emergence of Zach Bond, and then Nakobe Dean until he got hurt. Jalen Carter continuing his path as well. But what they did as a collective unit down the stretch in 2023 or 2024 was nothing short of miraculous. And they took a major hit. So my draft is defense-centric, because I think they need to replace a lot of that talent. And I don't know if even replacing the talent this year is going to spell out a defending Super Bowl championship. And we're going to get into more detail as I move through and we move through this offseason and we get into the season. But if Howie does not spend an extraordinary amount of time focused on the defense in this draft, I don't know. I don't know how you justify running it back, or in terms of challenging to repeat for Super Bowl champions. So without further ado, let's give you MattyB's draft. But before I do that, I want to remind everybody that Howie Roseman is back in the spotlight. That means me and Howie will renew acquaintances real soon. But in preparation to that, I want to remind everybody of Howie's draft record. And I use 2016 and 2024 as the Howie years when it comes to drafting. 9 drafts, 66 players. 4 out of 8 first-round draft picks are currently still on the Eagles. 26 players that Howie has drafted in those 9 drafts are still on the team as well. And that's only 39% of his drafted classes are still here. 33 of those players are considered to have been busts. So 51.5% of all of Howie's players that he's drafted were busts. 19 of them are considered to be hits. So 27% of them have hit. And right now, 14 players are somewhat undecided. We're still trying to get a final grade. 21%. And I bring that up just to kind of remind you what we're dealing with when it comes to that man as a drafting whiz. But let's get rolling with the Philadelphia Eagles' first pick in the 2025 draft at the 32nd positioning of the first round. MattyB is going with Nick Scotland from Texas A&M, an edge rusher. I need to replenish what we've lost with our edge with losing Josh Sweat. We need to get some help out there. And I know there's some talk about Sparks, but I don't think Sparks is going to be there at that position at 1. This guy, I think, will be there. And he checks the blocks for me. 6'3", 257 pounds. I think this is the guy we need to bring in to replenish that edge position for a young, speedy edge rusher. Some of his strengths are big, thick NFL caliber frame that allows him to play any position up front, slippery rusher who can get skinny between gaps and use fast hands and beat blockers, plays with force, and comes from surprising quicks. We need that. We need that because our secondary is going to be a little depleted. We're going to need some help and some support in that area. So here you go. My first round draft pick, 32nd overall, and here's the man right here. So what do you think about my first round pick? I like it. I think it fills an obvious need for the Eagles. And let's move on now to round number 2. I'm going safety, and I'm going with Jalen Reed out of Penn State. We got to find help in that backfield. I'm not digging what we got coming back next year. I'm not a Keely Ringo guy. I'm not a Eli Ricks guy. I'm not a Sidney Brown guy. I'm a Cooper DeJean guy, and I can think Quinyon Mitchell are the real deal, those two, but they're going to need help. Now, the guy the Eagles brought in from the Giants will probably be paired up with Quinyon. They leave Cooper in the slot. We lost CJ, DJ, BJ, KJ. We need Jalen Reed. Jalen Reed is a 6 foot, 211-pound safety from Penn State who basically plays with really good instincts and in the run game, consistently explodes downhill, plays with physicality at the catch point, and can shift through the trash on the screens and get to the ball carrier in a hurry. That is what I'm looking for. Would be the exact replacement for CJ, DJ, GJ, DJ. So I'm going defense edge, and I'm going defense safety with my first 2 picks. Now, safety at number 2, I don't know how he's going to do that. I don't think he's ever done it that high, right? Or the Eagles as a team is kind of in that linebacker ilk. They don't pick safeties that high or linebackers that high. But I'm going with safety as my number 2, my second round pick. In the third round, to replenish the offensive backfield, I'm going with Cam Scatterbo from Arizona State. This is a in-between the tackle kind of guy. He's not a power rusher. But if you think Saquon Barkley is just going to skip his way down the lane for 2,500 more yards in 2025 without any kind of wear and tear on his tires starting to show, I think you got another thing coming. And I don't think Will Shipley is the answer either. Cam Scatterbo will come on and provide you another weapon on a third. He's a third down running back. He's not necessarily an in-between the tackles type running back, but he's an athletic kid who can get out into space. And when he's out in space, he can make things happen. The problem is, again, running in between the tackles is not his strong suit. He's a 5'9", 220-pound guy. He's probably going to have to put on some more weight, some muscle, but bowling ball between the tackles. So once he gets between them, he can go full speed into contact, fights his butt off for every yard, reliable hands to feature underneath. If he's there in the third round, the Eagles need to get him because we need more options out of that backfield. Without Gainwell, we cannot rely on Will Shipley. And I don't know who else they brought some scrubs in, right? We need what they bring in. I don't remember, but I'm telling you, bring in this kid, Cam Scatterbu from Arizona State. He would be my third round pick in this year's NFL draft. That would be third at 96. That leads me now to my fourth round, and I'm on offense. The only two offensive players I'm taking in this draft are in rounds 3 and 4. And my fourth round pick is the heir apparent to Dallas Goedert, Mason Taylor, the tight end out of LSU. Smooth mover, gets in and out of breaks with ease, suction cup hands, catching balls, a second nature, natural body control along his routes, graceful. That's what I need now. Now on his weaknesses, he's physically leaves something to be desired. Trim frame despite listed weight, doesn't move people on contact, limited big play ability, almost exclusive and underneath, not make you miss guy in the open field. I don't care. Now, there is a problem with the blocking, obviously, and that's been an issue and that we're addressing and that we've addressed and that we're not addressing. Calcaterra can't block. I don't think Dallas Goedert is that good of a blocker either. But suction cup hands, I don't need him to be breakaway fast. I need him to make that play across the middle of the field for that 15-yard first down. And I need someone that's durable. And it's time to draft the replacement to Dallas Goedert. And in round 4, pick 134, I think Mason Taylor's there. Pro program in LSU. I'm going for him with my fourth round pick in this year's draft. In round 5 at pick 161. Now this is we go into the suspension of reality. I don't think Deion Walker is going to be there in the 5th round, but if he's there, the Eagles need to take him. He's going to be the part of my replenishment of my defensive line. Good first step, quickness to climb, reach and seal off backside pursuit, good patience and athleticism working through his pass sets, good job adjusting his feet when engaged. What is it, 6'7", 331 pounds? Yeah, I don't think he's going to be there, but if he is, the Eagles need to get him in the 5th round. I don't know if he's going to be there in the 5th round, but if he's there, we're going to get him. Now on to my second 5th round pick at 164. Yeah, another defensive lineman. He should be there. Alfred Collins from Texas. Explosive and disruptive interior player who has excellent power to control the gap, plays with relentless motor and pursues the ball well, exceptional length and upper body strength. Our defensive line is depleted, and it's hurting right now. We don't have enough rotational players. We don't know about Jordan Davis. Right now, Moro Ojoho, who's like a 7th round draft pick, is probably the biggest thing we got going on that D-line, with the exception of Jalen Carter. So we need to add more bodies along that defensive line. And that's why I'm going with back-to-back defensive linemen on this draft with my 5th round picks. And my third 5th round pick, guess what? Defensive lineman, Joshua Farmer from Florida State. Great length and stacked blocks, great strength, good job timing the snap to get off the line. Again, more depth along that D-line, 6'3", 305 pounds. I'm going to clog up the middle. And then with my final pick in the 2025 NFL draft and my final 5th round pick at 168, I'm going with the linebacker from Ole Miss, Chris Paul. Great vertical speed and acceleration, good waist spin at the high of his rush, good job of not getting sucked into the box, does a good job in trail coverage. Kind of more like maybe a Jeremiah Trotter Jr. sort of 6'1" type guy, 223, a little bit on the lighter side. I'm going to ask him to do a lot more in coverage than I am in anything else because we've seen coverage linebackers matter. And if we have some good edge and we have some good interior linemen, we can get away with coverage linebackers. And we saw it with Zach Bond, and we saw it with Nakobe Dean. So I'm going to continue down that road, and I'm going to wrap up my draft with Chris Paul. So there you go. You just went through MattyB's first mock draft. Well, that's not a mock draft. This is the draft that I'd go with. Those are my picks for this year's draft, and I'm sticking with them, man. Again, I don't know if Deion Walker's there in the 5th round, but if he is, and if it falls that way, I think you go for it. Joe says he wants to see the Eagles go for a safety or DB in the 1st round. They have to go. They got to get an edge rusher, Joe. They got to get an edge. Cam Ward might be the least talked about quarterback taken with number 1 overall pick. This draft is very mediocre. This draft sucks for quarterbacks. If you're the Giants, if you're the Titans, if your teams that are waiting desperately for their next greatest quarterback, this ain't the year. And I understand. I don't think the Giants are going quarterback this year. I think that's why they brought in Winstead, and who else did they sign? They signed like 9 quarterbacks this offseason. They're not drafting a quarterback this year. They're going to try to load up with position players, and hopefully they're bad again, and they can draft a quarterback next year, or they can wait around for Arch Manning, which will be in about 2 years. So I don't know, but you're right, Barbara. It's a terrible quarterback class. Say if Goddard does get dealt at the draft, do you draft a tight end earlier? No, I don't. I don't. Because there's so many. Joe, I told you starting my little segment. My number one reason why I think the Eagles won last year was because of their defense, and their defense got decimated in the offseason. And anybody who's got a solid brain and not a homer, for those of you out there that have brains, you can see that as well as I can, that this is not the defense of a defending Super Bowl champion. It got decimated. Now, for whatever reason, if you agree with it or don't agree with it, but the homers are going to try to wish it away, thinking everything is fine, that Jalen Hurts somehow is going to rise above all that, which I don't see how that's happening because it didn't happen last year. But that defense was the number one reason, in my opinion, they won that Super Bowl, and they got decimated. So I'm going personally, replenishing my defense. I'm taking a tight end in the 4th round. There should be quality tight ends available in this draft in the 4th round. So that's where I'm going with that. All right, let's get on to the of the night segment, and then we get to the card segment. We're going to wrap this bad boy up. So here we go. All right, the other night segment. Let's get right to it. Tonight, we're back in the NHL, the draft. That's right. The NHL draft is upon us. Well, it's coming upon us. And tonight, we're going to talk about another NHL draft prospect, Sasha Bodmedini from Boston University, the 6'1", 183-pound defenseman. He sees the ice well and plays a poised game, though I've started to question his puck management decision-making in control at times, more so at the later part of the season. He handles the puck comfortably. He layers, fakes into his carries well, though he can try to do too much. And that's always a problem with younger players. 6'2", 183, I'm digging that. Lower first-round pick. Should gain some interest from the Flyers, but I don't need another left-handed defenseman. But he'll go first round, probably in the low part of the first round. So there you go. Tonight's of the night, NHL draft target, Sasha Bodmedini. Medellin. I'm not saying that right, but let's wrap it up, baby. Last segment. Yep, it's the card review segment, the time of the night where we talk about one of my many sports cards. We're back in baseball tonight. I think we were back in baseball. We did hockey a while ago. God, I can't remember where we are anymore. Tonight we're back in baseball, but we are in baseball. The 1990 Kirk Gibson Dunross card. This was the year after the 89 season, so this would have been the 89 pitcher that he took. Of course, the big heroic, or 88 season, I'm sorry. This would have been 2 years. His final year as a Dodger. 88 was the big year with the walk-off home run there in Game 1 of the World Series. Kirk Gibson, a really interesting player. We've highlighted him before with other cards on this segment. We haven't done this one yet. Now, this particular card does have an error card associated with it. Gibson was born on May 28th, 1957, but there's cards that are floating around out there that have been born on May 25th, 1957, and that's a considerable difference in the card manufacturer. It's considered an error card. It's considered more valuable. The right card, or the actual correct birth date card in a raw state, is worth between $7 and $10. It's a pretty valuable card for a base Dunross 90 of Kirk Gibson towards the end of his career. But if you happen to have one of the error cards, I've seen them go. I've seen this card in the error card form sell for about $200. I have the error card with the wrong birth date on it. So, and it's a raw card. It's pretty good shape. I could probably try to move it for 200, maybe be a little bit less greedy for about $100, but definitely a considerable difference between the two cards. Dunrust 90. The set itself, not too sexy at all. There's a reason why Dunrust is not doing baseball cards anymore, and this is part of it. But there you have it. Tonight's card review segment is the 1990 Kurt Gibson, and here it is in its physical form, and it's the birth date, the wrong birth date card. I'll flip it over. I doubt you can see it, though. But up here, it says May 25th, and he was born on May 28th. So I have the error card of this card. Maybe I could potentially get $100 for this, depending on how. There's a lot of these error cards floating around. There's probably more error cards than there are the right ones. So in this case, the right one might be more valuable. But this card in a base form is worth about $7 to $10. There you go, man. Wow. Told you we had a lot to do tonight, and we got through it. Maybe Hertz will throw more than 2,905 yards this season. We know Barkley won't rush again for 2K. I'm telling you, Barbara, they're not. And maybe Hertz throws across the middle of the field too. But a lot will come up. Joe says, great show. Listen, guys, I want to thank you and remind you that I will just sit. No more final words until after I get back from Florida next week. So the next episode of The Final Word will be seen on April 27th. I will be back with you tomorrow night for the Fighting's final. But then that's it. You won't be seeing me on the airwaves again until April 27th. Oh, no, I got the final one time when I'm on vacation. But you'll be seeing me down in Florida. But no more final words until the end of till I come back off vacation at the end of April. So thank you for being part of this show, and please come back when I get back. Hurry back soon, and we'll continue the great conversation. Eagles draft coming up. All the great shows we have on the network. Phillies continue their struggles. Flyers season's mercifully over. Everything's trending in the right direction, I hope, for the Flyers. So until we talk again on The Final Word, you guys have a great rest of your night and even better tomorrow. We'll see you later.